ज्ञानातिमिरन्दस्या ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayādvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayādvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna
Vishnupada Paramahansa Pariprajaka Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Sridhar Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Jayādvaita Gadadhar, Shiva Sati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Mukund Radha Kunikiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mahi Ki Jai, Jamana Mahi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samadvaita Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Thank you to all for attending. And we're reading Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 2, Texts 91 and 92. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Timirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sativam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lolita Sri Vishakhan Vitamstra He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Odi Priye Vanshakot Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we may recall that Kaviraj Goswami is unpacking the early verses, his invocatory verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he's been expounding upon verse 3. Yadadvaitam Brahmopanishadi tadapyasya tanubha ya atmantar yami purusha iti so syangsha vibhavaha shadaishvaryai purno yoiha bhagavan sa swayamayam na chaitanyat krishnad jagati paratatvam paramiha. What the Upanishads describe as the impersonal Brahma is but the effulgence of his body, and the Lord, known as the Supersoul, is but his localized plenary portion. Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, full with 6 opulences. He is the absolute truth, and no other truth is greater than or equal to him. So now Kaviraj Goswami has described the Brahma effulgence, he's described the Paramatma, and he's been now describing the personality of Godhead, whom he says earlier is the origin of all the incarnations of the Lord. So now he's quoting Srimad Bhagavatam. Atrashargo visargascha sthanam pojanamutayaha nanvantare shanu kata nirodho muktirashrayaha tashamasya vishuddhyartam navanam ihalakshanam varnayanti mahatmanaha shrutenartena chandrasa. Here in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10 subjects are described. 1, the creation of the ingredients of the cosmos. 2, the creations of Brahma. 3, the maintenance of the creation. 4, special favor given to the faithful. 5, impetuses for activity. 6, prescribed duties for law-abiding men. 7, a description of the incarnations of the Lord. 8, the winding up of the creation. 9, liberation from gross and subtle material existence. And 10, the ultimate shelter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The 10th item is the shelter of all the others. To distinguish this ultimate shelter from the other 9 subjects, the Mahajanas have described these 9 directly or indirectly through prayers or direct explanations. Purport. These verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 2:10, 1 through 2 list the 10 subjects, the 10 subject matters dealt with in the text of the Bhagavatam. Of these, the 10th is the substance, and the other 9 categories, are categories derived from the substance. These 10 subjects are listed as follows. 1. Sarga, the first creation by Vishnu, the bringing forth of the 5 gross material elements, 5 objects of sense perception, the 10 senses, the mind, the intelligence, the false ego, and the total material energy or universal form. That's what we've been reading about in our 3rd canto readings on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Sarga, or the Lord's creation of the basic constituents of material nature. Then 2, Visarga, the secondary creation, or the work of Brahma in producing the moving and unmoving bodies in the universe, Brahmanda. Visarga. 3, Sthana, the maintenance of the universe by the personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Vishnu's function is more important and his glory greater than Brahma's and Lord Shiva's. For although Brahma is the creator and Lord Shiva the destroyer, Vishnu is the maintainer. 4, Poshana, special care and protection for devotees by the Lord. As a king maintains his kingdom and subjects, but nevertheless gives special attention to the members of his family, so the personality of Godhead gives special care to his devotees who are souls completely surrendered to him. 5, Uti, the urge for creation or initiative power that is the cause of all inventions according to the necessities of time, space, and objects. 6, Manvantara, the periods controlled by the Manus, who teach regulative principles for living beings who desire to achieve perfection in human life. The rules of Manu, as described in the Manu Samhita, guide the way to such perfection. 7, Ishanukata, scriptural information regarding the personality of Godhead, his incarnations on earth, and the activities of his devotees. Scriptures dealing with these subjects are essential for progressive human life. 8, Nirodha, the winding up of all energies employed in creation. Such potencies are emanations from the personality of Godhead, who eternally lies in the Karna ocean. The cosmic creations manifested with his breath are again dissolved in due course. Mukti, liberation of the conditioned souls encaged by the gross and subtle coverings of body and mind. When freed from all material affection, the soul, giving up the gross and subtle material bodies, can attain the spiritual sky in his original spiritual body and engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord in Vaikuntha Loka or Krishna Loka. When the soul is situated in his original constitutional position of existence, he is said to be liberated. It is possible to engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord and become Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul, even while in the material body. 10. Ashraya, the transcendence, the summum bonum, from whom everything emanates, upon whom everything rests, and in whom everything merges after annihilation. He is the source and support of all. The Ashraya is also called the Supreme Brahma, as in the Vedanta Sutra, Atato Brahmajigyasa Janmadyasya Yataha. Srimad Bhagavatam especially describes this Supreme Brahma as the Ashraya. Sri Krishna is this Ashraya, and therefore the greatest necessity of life is to study the science of Krishna. So we're hearing about the 10 subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam. 9 of them are derivative and dependent. They come from and rest on the 10th category, the ashraya, the shelter of everything, Krishna himself. Any questions so far? Okay, let us continue. Srimad Bhagavatam accepts Sri Krishna as the shelter of all manifestations, because Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate source of everything, the supreme goal of all. 2 different principles are to be considered herein, namely ashraya, the object providing shelter, and ashrita, the dependence requiring shelter. The ashrita exists under the original principle, the ashray. Yes, the ashrita exists. Ashrita exists under the original principle, the ashray. The first 9 categories described in the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, from creation to liberation, including the Purusha avatars, the incarnations, the marginal energy or living entities, and the external energy or material world, are all ashrita. The prayers of Srimad Bhagavatam, however, aim for the ashraya tattva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The great souls, expert in describing Srimad Bhagavatam, have very diligently delineated the other 9 categories, sometimes by direct narrations, and sometimes by indirect narrations, such as stories. The real purpose of doing this is to know perfectly the absolute transcendence, Sri Krishna, for the entire creation, both material and spiritual rests on the body of Sri Krishna. So Krishna is the ashraya. When you have you see, for example, that there's a vine growing on a trellis. So the trellis is the ashraya, and the vine is the ashrita. The trellis supports the vine, and the vine rests on the trellis. The Lord is the shelter of everything. Everything rests on him. But unlike the trellis and the vine, the Lord is the source of everything. Janmadyasya, he's the source of everything, and everything rests on the Lord. This is Krishna. Everything else is contingent on Krishna. Everything else is derivative from Krishna. Everything else is a manifestation of Krishna. And Krishna himself is the resting place of everything, the resting place of the incarnations, the resting place of the expansions of Godhead, the resting place of the material energy, the spiritual energy. Everything rests on Krishna. But Krishna doesn't rest on anything else. Krishna is not contingent upon anything else. So he's called Ashraya Tattva, and all of these other manifestations are Ashrita Tattva. Any comments or questions here? Ikendra Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. As I was reading these verses, noticing that these subject matters of the Bhagavatam correspond more or less to the subtitles of the various cantos, there was only one that had me a little bit puzzled. I was hoping you could shed some light on it. That for the fourth canto, which is the subtitle for that is The Creation of the Fourth Order, and I couldn't figure out exactly how that relates to the number 4 topic that's listed in today's verse.
Well, it would be the fourth topic because it would be the fourth order because it's the fourth topic, I suppose.
Okay.
Poshana. I don't know of any explanation beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Tulsi Priya.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. The word manifestation sort of grabbed me, and I looked it up, and I think the conventional idea of manifestation, and as well as the dictionary version, is that when something manifests means it was previously hidden before. And I'm just wondering, because is that actually the meaning that we are referring to when we say something is a manifestation, or is it more like things are expansions of Krishna's energy?
Hold on a second. Just catch up on with our dictionary here.
I was looking up the etymology as well.
Yeah. Always interesting to do.
I was asking because Prabhupada doesn't use words casually, so.
No. That's the adjective. To make evident by showing or displaying, to show plainly, and that's what manifest is. It's clearly in the adjective, it's clearly revealed to the eye, mind, or judgment. So So manifestation is something that shows up really, let's see, go back to manifestation. Go to-
I think it's the next to last paragraph.
Yeah,
Srimad
yeah,
Bhagavatam.
I don't see that sense of its being necessarily hidden. I don't see that sense of its being necessarily hidden. Something that's shown, something, oh yeah, there it is. But it doesn't have to be. That's only, that doesn't seem to be a big deal in the dictionary. So, leaving the dictionary aside, sorry, you ask an editor a question, you get a dictionary, especially when you reference the dictionary. But something that's seen, something that's shown, something that's displayed, something that's before us, a manifestation of kindness, a manifestation of power, a manifestation, and so on. It's shown right before us. That's generally the idea. When something is manifest, it's clear, it's evident.
Good.
So Srila Prabhupada seems to use, and of course it may not be, it may previously be unmanifest. All living entities are unmanifest, then they're manifest, then they're unmanifest. The Lord manifests himself in various ways. It's understood that before he manifests himself, he's unmanifest, he's not seen.
So can we take it that we're talking about the material world, that he manifests himself in the material worlds, the living entities become manifest in the material worlds.
I don't know that it has to be that way. Prabhupada can speak of various manifestations of Vishnu in the Vaikuntha planets. Okay. Just means you see him. There he is.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Okay. Quite important, especially take this conclusion that everything is resting on Krishna. He's the ashray. He's the resting place of everything. All the other categories that we're studying because they help us appreciate Krishna. And what is that in the Sanskrit? Vishuddhiyartam, in the word for word, it simply means for the purpose of perfect knowledge, Vishuddhiyartam. But Srila Prabhupada explains also that one becomes purified by hearing of the first 9 topics in relation to Krishna. By hearing about the dependent topics, one is then prepared to hear about the ultimate topic, the personality of Godhead. That's important. There's Panchatattva has something. Aside from the 10th subject of Srimad Bhagavatam, do the other subjects sometimes appear interspersed in Srimad Bhagavatam? And I'm sorry, could you read that for me, Panchatattva?
Sure, Guru Maharaj. Aside from the 10th subject of Srimad Bhagavatam, Ashraya, do the other subjects sometimes appear interspersed in Srimad Bhagavatam and not in a linear way, one after the other?
Yes, actually, Srila Jiva Goswami says that these 9 topics aren't pegged to particular cantos. Srila Prabhupada does peg them that way. He has them corresponding one-to-one. He's named the cantos according to these 9 subject matters. But Srila Jiva Goswami says they all appear in all the various cantos. So we can take it either way. But we do see that various topics are mentioned in various cantos. The Saraswati says, it is said that the Jivan Mukta can exist in a material body, but is it that our material eyes can only see a material body, but their spiritual body is present but hidden from us? Well, the verse Prabhupada's glossing, Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasa gira nikalashvapyavastasu jivan muktas uchate. A devotee who's fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, karmana manasa gira, body, mind, and words, even though he's situated iha, here in the material world, is jivan mukta, a liberated soul. So we see the liberated soul here. We saw Srila Prabhupada. We may see other liberated souls. We may not see their spiritual identities in terms of their eternal relationship with Krishna. We didn't see Srila Prabhupada dressed in the attire of Goloka Vrindavan. We saw him dressed as a sannyasi. But we saw him. He was present as spirit soul, and we saw him before us. And we understood that he was a liberated person because he was fully engaged in the service of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada gave the example of a coconut. The coconut, generally a coconut, has the water, and then it has the coconut meat, the white coconut meat, and then there's the shell. And the coconut meat is bound to the coconut shell. So the dabwalas cut open the coconut, and after you've drunk the water, and you can scrape out the coconut pulp. But after the coconut's been sitting in the sun for a long time, the water dries up, the pulp dries up, and the pulp separates from the shell. So that if you take the coconut and shake it, you'll hear the dry coconut pulp rattling around within the shell. So the coconut pulp is still there, but it's separated from the shell. So in the same way, the liberated soul, although present within the body, is separated from the body or detached from the body. So in that way, it's to be understood that he's there, we're seeing him, existing in a material body. But the material body, of course, we see that the body is made of the same material elements, or it's made of flesh and bones and muscles and so on. But the body of the liberated soul or the pure devotee is considered spiritual, not because it's the eternal, shows us the eternal identity of that soul, but because it's totally engaged in the service of Krishna. Because it's totally engaged in the service of Krishna, it's considered spiritual. And so the sannyasis, for example, are buried rather than burned, because it's considered that their bodies are spiritual. Not to say that householders can't also be completely liberated souls, but that conventional idea is there. So in this way, their bodies are spiritual, and we see them. But we don't, of course, see, unless we have very special vision, we don't see their eternal identity and their eternal relationship with Krishna in the spiritual world. We see their identity here. I hope that's okay. Murari Gupta says, the subject matter of Bhagavatam is so essential. Why is it considered inferior to Shruti? It's not considered inferior to Shruti. Srimad Bhagavatam is not considered inferior to anything. Nigamakol pataror galitam palam. It's considered the ripe fruit of the desire tree of Vedic knowledge. Therefore, it's an offense to blaspheme Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version, to blaspheme the Shruti or to blaspheme the Smriti. Traditionally, the Shruti is taken to be the original authority, and the Smriti comments on that authority, or expounds upon, or makes more accessible that authority. But that doesn't make it inferior. And in terms of the Bhagavatam is considered superior to everything. It's revered by the devotees as the most essential of all the Vedic literatures, and in fact, the ripe fruit of Vedic literature. Green says, the 9 subject matters are also described in other Puranas. Why is it that the other Puranas are not having the 10th ashraya? There's of course, Krishna may appear elsewhere, especially Vishnu Puran or other places. But the Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the ripe fruit specifically for that reason, that it focuses on Krishna. And Vyasa is in fact rebuked by Narad. How do you expect to be satisfied? You haven't glorified Krishna directly. You've beat around the bush. You've talked about so many things to sort of bring people in the direction of Krishna, but you haven't hit the target. You haven't spoken directly about Krishna. So now let's get on it. And Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva does by composing Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada inserts in his translation, Mahamuni Krite. It's written by the great Muni Vyasadeva in his maturity. This is the mature contribution of Vyasadeva, the Bhagavatam. There's a scene in Brihad Bhagavatamrita where all the Shastras are gathered into the court of Brahma. Brahma calls them all together, and they all attend to speak about the absolute truth. And Gop Kumar is seeing that the Upanishads are they're not saying anything. They're not talking about Krishna. They're talking about Brahma. They're the absolute truth. They're talking about the difference between matter and spirit. They're talking about these things, but they're not talking about Krishna. And the Vedanta Sutra similarly is not directly speaking about Krishna. And the Puranas are there, and they're kind of hinting, and they say a little bit about Krishna here and there. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is there and gets so, what's the word, frustrated or indignant at this state of affairs. The Bhagavatam just walks out. So this is the situation as it's depicted by Sanatana Goswami, that all the scriptures are speaking about Krishna, but mostly indirectly, a little bit, but Krishna is not clearly the center of all attention until we get to Bhagavatam, where everything is presented. Tulsi Priya has a follow-up on Saraswati's question.
Yes, Mahesh. So about, the material body, the Jivan Mukti in the material body, I have heard that, for instance, there's been a lot written about Srila Prabhupada when he was in his final days, and also before then, when he would apparently go through various illnesses, and also when he was leaving his body, there were changes going on. And I was always told that we don't understand these to be material illnesses, that this is Lila, yet all the same devotees are calling doctors, they're giving medicines, they're changing diet. And I was just wondering, what is the actual situation? I mean, I can accept that it's Lila, but at the same time, to me, it doesn't really make any difference whether the material body is going through changes or not. Prabhupada is still Prabhupada, and a pure devotee is still a pure devotee. So I was just wondering if maybe you could expand or clarify on that.
In one sense, it's an expression of respect. In Gaudiya literature, Gaudiya Mat literature, you'll find things like, and then Prabhupada performed the pastime of taking rest. Or Srila Prabhupada was performing the pastime of illness. Everything is depicted in those sorts of terms. So rather as a reminder, or we can take it as a reminder, that the pure devotee is not like us in the sense of being a conditioned soul, being simply dictated to by the conditions of the material energy. So it's a sort of respectful discourse and a reminder that Gurushu Nadamati, the spiritual master, should not be seen as an ordinary human being. To refer to the spiritual master as a great man is an insult, according to the Vaishnava culture. He's not a man as we ordinarily think of a man. He's an intimate associate of Krishna, or representative of Krishna. Manushim Tanamatrita. Krishna says, people deride me because they think of me as a man. Manushim Tanam, having a man's body. Even, why does God have to be a man? Feminist response. So Krishna is not a man. He's the transcendental ashraya of all the other categories. Similarly, the spiritual master is not just an ordinary human being. And so we're reminded of this by that sort of, by that convention, by that use of reverential language, performed the pastime of having a stomach ache, or performed the pastime of resting, or what have you. So it's a suitable reminder in one sense, because the activities of the pure devotee are not exactly like the ordinary activities of the human being. When Srila Prabhupada was in his last days, you could say that, well, everybody dies, and he was on his deathbed, as Prabhupada himself used that term. Certainly, he was leaving because the bodily functions were no longer working. They were shutting down. So, externally, we look at it that way, and that's not untrue. But then there was this extraordinary dimension to it also, where even materially, the Kaviraj said, at one moment I feel his pulse, and he's like a person on the very verge of death, and the next minute I take his pulse, and he's like a young man. So extraordinary in that sense, to be so in such a diminished and difficult position, and to be dictating Srimad Bhagavatam. This is extraordinary. This is not the way ordinary human beings die, as we understand it. And then, of course, there's the internal aspect of things that we don't see at all. What is going on between Prabhupada and Krishna? What's going on between the Lord and his pure devotee? That's not manifest to us. It's there, but we don't see it because we don't have the eyes with which to see it. And we may see that it's happening. We may understand something to the extent of our realization, but we don't see it clearly because it is hidden. It is internal. It is something between the Lord and the devotee. So in that sense also, it's a pastime. Krishna's, materially we say he died of kidney failure. But spiritually, we say that Krishna at some point brought him back to the spiritual world. So this use of this language of pastime points to that fact that these are not just ordinary activities of the conditioned soul. They're transcendental activities of Krishna's pure devotee. Is that okay?
Yes, I just wanted to add that I think it creates a little bit of a conflict in me because perhaps because of my Catholic background, that, that Jesus suffered and yet he was God and whatever. At the same time, I'm thinking it almost seems more glorious to me that if Prabhupada is actually experiencing illness, actually experiencing some pain, and yet he's completely transcendental, because the implication sometimes when people say it's a pastime is that he's not really experiencing this. It's just a show, it's just a play. And I guess maybe because we're expected to become pure devotees, and then, well, if I'm in pain, it's because I'm not, I'm just a fallen soul, and you're sort of off the hook from trying too hard, instead of pushing, I mean, I'm kind of mixing things up here, but I think you might get what I'm saying. It's
these different things are there, different, what would we say? Different ways of looking, different ways of looking at things. And different ways of appreciating. Someplace in Nectar Devotion, it said that the pure devotee doesn't even experience what goes on as a result of the modes of nature. And yet we do see that apparently he is in touch with the, these things are affecting the body and so on. So it exists in a different world, you could say, or in a different dimension, because finally everyone is pure consciousness. Whatever happens to the body has nothing to do with us. Ultimately, it has nothing to do with us. Even if those, gross materialists who are dying in pain and confusion, really none of that has anything to do with them. It's like a dream. Because they're not the body, it's only apparent. But they fully identify with the dream, like a person being chased by a tiger in a dream. So for them, it's horrifying. But for the self-realized soul, there's a different view of things. He knows that he's not the body. His consciousness is differently situated. So exactly how that plays out is difficult to understand because we're not that person and we don't have that same realization. So we tend to put our evaluative minds into gear and try to understand it. And so we do to some extent, but depending on our realization. when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in the various kirtan parties at once. Only a few people could see that that was going on. Everybody else saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's in my party, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's in my party. But some, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, King Prataparudra, they could see what was going on. By the grace of the Lord, they could see that Mahaprabhu was dancing in all the parties at once. So it's a question of vision also.
Thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Thank you. Just as a, well, I guess we don't need to get into Catholic history. We'll skip it. Okay. Murai Gupta, sometimes when we are dreaming, we know we are dreaming. So it's not like a totally involved death. Yes. Lucid dreaming, they call it. Dreaming when you know that you're dreaming. Now I want to know what you would say about Catholic history, but I expect, okay. Have I talked about it? No. I don't have a seminar on that. Unless I mentioned it in my schisms seminar. Anyway, some other time, I think we will go into Catholic history today. Let's just see where we are now. Yes. Ashraya Janite Kohi E Nab Padartha E Navir Utpatti Hetu She Ashrayartha. To know distinctly the ultimate shelter of everything that be, I have described the other 9 categories. The cause for the appearance of these 9 is rightly called their shelter. Krishna ek sarva ashray, Krishna sarva dham, Krishna sharire sarva vishwer vishram. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the shelter and abode of everything. All the universes rest in his body. Dashame dashamam laksham ashritashraya vigraham Sri Krishnakyam padang thama jagadhama namami tat. The 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam reveals the 10th object, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of all surrendered souls. He is known as Sri Krishna, and he is the ultimate source of all the universes. Let me offer my obeisances unto him. Purport. This quotation comes from Sridhar Swami's commentary on the first verse of the 10th canto, chapter 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we've discussed these topics, and this brings us to a natural change in subject matters. We're still going to be discussing this exposition, Kaviraj Goswami's exposition of the 3rd verse, but Kaviraj Goswami will turn his attention from this point, that Krishna is the origin of all the other categories, to a discussion of Krishna's various expansions and manifestations. So that will begin in the next session. Okay. I think we can stop here. Shall we have kirtan? Who volunteered for the kirtan?
Hey, Apurva Prabhu, would you like to lead? Hmm. Well, there's no response.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I can't lead. I'm just
Oh,
getting back from a journey and unloading my
oh, sorry, Prabhu.
CPAP machine. Sorry.
No, no,
I would love.
my apologies.
You're on Panchatattva Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Paripurajaka Acharya Ashtottara Sati Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Sham Kund Radha Kunigiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur
Yay.
Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Panchatattva Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Lakshmana.
Haribo, thank you so much.
Thank you, Apurva Prabhu.
Just got
Kamalini.
back from Atlanta, so I can't.
Oh,
Right.
Sorry. Haribo.
Thank you.
Hari Das Prabhu, Hari Hari Jai.
Oh, should have asked Haridas Prabhu to lead.
Mm.
I'm a listener.
Oh,
Next time.
I'm a hearer.
A hero.
A hearer.
Hero, yes.
No.
Hare Krishna.
All right. Thank you all again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Haribo.
Jai.
Jai Prabhupada.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.